Hello, students. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today's session. I believe whoever watching us today will be beneficial through the system and through this video. We know how difficult it is to secure a PhD admission. Sometimes it is so frustrating because students they need to explore to find the right supervisor. At the same time, faculties they also looking for quality students. But the journey is really very complicated because sometimes it is so complicated. Students try to reach out to faculties, and at the same time, faculties they have been filtering the applications. So today, this session, we are trying to invite a guest who can talk about the opportunities and discuss about PhD, why a PhD is needed, and what is a PhD actually. So let me introduce our first guest today, and we are really delighted to have you, Dr. Tanzil Shafique. He is assistant professor of School of Architecture, the University of Sheffield. So, hello, Dr. Shafiq. Welcome to you. Join us today, and it is really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Perfect. So, to start with, would you mind to talk about the PhD, why a PhD is needed, and what is actually a PhD is?
Thank you. I think it's a very important question, and it's quite basic, but it's quite important because a PhD is uh, considered as a research training degree. So this is the highest tertiary education that you can get, particularly focusing on research. So sometimes people think that it is something to do with teaching. It's not really about it's not about teaching really, uh, but the primary focus is that you investigate something new and then you add new knowledge through your research into the wider field. So, whatever the field that is, particularly if you're interested to investigate something and produce new knowledge, then research is PhD is the training for that research.
Right. Thank you. I believe most of the students before they jump into the PhD, it is important for them to understand why they're preferring a PhD. It is not about kind of you're doing a PhD just as a hobby. You should have a proper objective. You should have a goal, and you should understand why you're going to take this PhD. So thank you so much. And would you mind to tell us a bit about the PhD that is needed for architecture who have done their urban design courses or any kind of architecture, which area they can progress if they have done a PhD?
So for example, I think I can broadly cover PhDs in, let's say, in architecture, urban design, urban planning. So because they are quite interrelated. So PhD in architecture, I would say that again, or in urban design and urban planning, is particularly a way to know more about the different processes, and also just to say that it's not necessary that anyone has to be an architect or come from this background, because it is about investigating something related to these disciplines. But it's not about whether you are originally from this discipline. And as for the PhD, as I said, you know most of the time, yes, after doing a PhD, people go for teaching profession jobs, and they think this is the only option. But I would say that even very famous architects, they have done PhD. There is a very famous American architect, um, Peter Eisenman, and he did his PhD in Cambridge, and then he went and started his architectural firm. So
Right.
it's not no, it's a way of producing new knowledge that can be applied in in design firm, in in industry, in NGO based work, in and of course teaching profession and research institute. So it's quite broad, where what you can do with a PhD.
Right. Excellent. I believe these words that you just mentioned, I believe, thousands of architecture students who have done their bachelor or masters on architecture, even they're from a different background, they would understand how a PhD on architecture can help in their career. So actually, what kind of, applicants or what kind of candidates you are looking for this, architecture or PhD?
So I think the foundational thing that we're looking for, the fundamental thing rather, that we're looking for in a PhD student in architecture slash urban design planning is, of course, the background is important, but it's not that we are, only looking for previous architecture students. So someone can even come from a business background. Uh, so that's not the important thing. The important thing is what is it that they want to investigate. So the research question, what we call the research question. So someone from let's say a business background might be interested to research about how big architectural firms, what is their operational strategy, what is their, how do they do the work, how do they get procurement of big projects. They might be interested to study that. So he might actually come from business background but study, let's say, architectural firms. So in a way, the application, the right candidate is the candidate with the right question, and the
Right.
right question is not easy to find. And I think that's why it's important to think about what you want to investigate, and is it an interesting question to the supervisor, because the person who will gonna supervise you for 3 years, it has to be interesting to them also.
Right.
And that's why the research question and the investigation, that's the fundamental thing that we're looking for in a student.
Excellent, excellent. Sometimes in my career, over last 14 years as a student consultant, I have noticed, sometimes students they are coming up with a proposal and they're so frustrated sometimes because they're unable to secure a place by contacting any supervisors. And we have seen over the years, like students applying to 40, 50 universities and they're getting rejections. But maybe the weakness is that is missing kind of, maybe their proposal is not attracting or not matching with the similar field with the faculties or supervisors. So before they approach any supervisor, they need to ensure that they're looking to the research interest that has to be matched in both sides. So if a student, if they start their PhD, what do you think for this particular industry, how long it takes to finish their PhD?
So in the UK, I mean, it's quite different in different countries. So for example, I did my PhD in Australia where it was 4 years,
Right.
and in the United States, it's usually 5 years. In the UK, roughly, I would say that it's 3 to 3.5 years. Uh,
Right.
so it's different. So if we are talking about the UK now, then I
Mhm.
would say that, yeah, it's a minimum of 3 years and let's say 3.5 for the full process to finish.
Right. And what do you think? What are the job opportunities after doing their PhD? Which area they can go?
So in architecture, urban design, urban planning, as I said, after a PhD, of course there are always like teaching opportunities. That's easy, as a tutor, uh, and in terms of going for international organizations such as United Nations, and there can be some work with humanitarian organizations that do architectural projects. But of course, mainstream architectural firms, sometimes they're not really interested in research. They are more focusing on design, especially smaller firms. But bigger firms usually will have a research wing where they will need dedicated architectural researchers. So there are opportunities with maybe with bigger firms because they have more money to afford to hire researchers.
Right.
So it's quite broad, the opportunities, as I said, and the opportunities are quite global. So if
Right.
someone is coming from his own country, they can go back. They can use the research method they learn in PhD, and they can use it for their own architectural practice. Uh,
Right.
so it's really, as I said, I mean, it's quite open after the PhD.
Right, right, excellent. Now, going back to your, kind of experience as a kind of faculty, we know that you have been receiving a number of emails or maybe proposals from students. What's your experience? Like, what are the common mistakes you see within the student that you receive?
So I think the first thing is it's not specific enough. Now, what
Right,
I mean by that is if I can understand that the student is writing a general application and then it's sending to many different people, it's
right,
very easy to understand. When but what I'm looking for in a student is when they talk very specifically, because they say that, okay, I have seen your papers and you are interested in this. So for example, my research is about informal settlements or slums. So if someone is focusing particularly in that and they find me, that I want you to supervise me because you have been working on this for the last 10 years, and I read your paper, I read that paper. When I can understand that they are interested in my work, then I'm interested in them. But the more generic it becomes, like it can go to any supervisor, then
right,
we understand that the student is not researching in depth about the supervisor, their background. They're not sure about exactly what they want to do. But as I
right,
said, the PhD is a tertiary education. We expect students to be mature enough to say that, I'm interested in this one thing. I looked at the world, of researchers. You are working on this. I want to work with you because I think you are interested in this,
right,
because you are working on this. So
right,
that's kind of like the most important thing, to how to align your interest with the supervisor's interest,
right,
because then you can learn from each other. PhD is not, it's not a class, it's more like a learning together. So the supervisor is also going to learn from you, from the
right,
student. So it's important to bring that maturity, because that's what really supervisors want. uh,
right.
yeah.
We have seen over the years, like sometimes students preparing one proposal and then try to submit blindly to random universities and sending that proposal to random faculties by email. Kind of sometimes they are copying in CC or putting all of them in BCCs and
Yeah.
sending as a bulk email, which we believe one of the reason maybe they're getting rejections because supervisor when they're looking into the email and then they're finding okay another 50 supervisors are copied from different universities,
Yeah.
they may lose their interest.
Of course, they'll not be interested. I mean, it has to be PhD's approaching a supervisor for potential. It has to be so particular. It has to be like almost on a personal level. It has to be
Right,
like, dear Doctor XXX, I have been interested in, you know, XYZ, and your work is in that XYZ, and I have
right,
been reading your paper, and it's so particular. And when someone starts, and then they're interested because they're looking for that. Also, PhD supervisors are looking for PhD students who can advance their own research, right? So
right,
that's why it's so important that when you, and that's why everything starts with what you want to know. Like, what is it that you really care, that you will spend like 3 years or 4 years, thinking about it all the time. So you
right,
have to be really motivated, and you have to find a particular set of person, so supervisors who match that. Not everyone is going to match perfectly. It's not going to be 100% match, but something similar so that you can approach the supervisor. This is
right.
like the foundation for a successful proposal.
Exactly, exactly. Though the time is very limited for us, but let
Yeah,
us try to cover a few things very quickly.
yeah.
What are the steps you would like your students, like, if they would like to approach you, what are the steps you would like them to follow?
So I think the first thing is start with reading the material. Like, if you're interested in, let's say, green buildings, or sustainable buildings, it's important that you start reading about it more. And you can get a lot of research paper on academia, on ResearchGate, and then you start identifying who are these researchers that have been publishing. Then you find out where are they working. That's one way to find out. Okay, so this person is working at University of, let's say, Southampton. Then you say, okay, then you start approaching them and say, I'm interested in green building or sustainable technology, and you're working on it, and your work, and I want to implement some of your work in my research. So I want you. So that's kind of like the first step, where you start by reading about potential supervisors and start crafting your draft proposal. Because when you approach a supervisor, they want to look at the proposal. So this is all before the official admission process. This is
Right.
like done informally. I mean, it's sad that there is no platform for it to do it.
Right.
But right now, it's like by email, and you email, and of course they're busy. Many of they'll be like very late. They might come back to you after 2 weeks. So, but this is the process right now. Then once you start getting an approach that they read it, or sometimes my students, some of them, I tell them to fix the proposal. I've been working with some students for 6 months to fix the proposal before they submit an official application.
Right.
So there is this all this process that happens before going for the admission page.
Right.
That when you put it in the admission, it's gonna then in the committee, and for all of that, it will be much easier rather than blindly applying for the admission.
Excellent. So, well, you mentioned about proposals. So, if you think one student wants to approach you, do they need to prepare their proposal first before they approach you, or they want? I mean, you'd recommend them to connect with you first, have a chat, and then work on the proposal.
I mean, it can work both ways. So they can, usually, like, because we get a lot of email. If you want to explore an opportunity, yes, you can just write a few lines and see if the supervisor is available.
Right.
So that's also an important, because sometimes there's too many PhD students and they're not available. So you can do that. But ideally, I would say that starting by, in my case, it started that I emailed a UC, University of California Berkeley professor when I was in the United States, and he replied to me. He's like, "Yeah, I'm interested, but I need to know your proposal. So can you send me your proposal?" I didn't write the proposal at the time, so 2 days I was working like 24 hours to finish the proposal, and because he said, just send it to me. Like, where's the draft? So
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm working on it. So it's always important to have a draft process going.
Right.
And
Right.
there are a lot of available resources to see how to write a PhD proposal draft. If anyone
Right.
Googles, you will get official university instructions, like University of Sheffield thesis proposal writing guide. You'll get it. You'll get detail, like what are the things that is needs to be part of that proposal. So the resources are available, and the thing is, no one is looking for perfection. When we're
Definitely.
looking at a PhD proposal, I want to see that this person spent a lot of time already on it. They are invested, they are interested, they are intellectually capable. But I'm not looking for like perfect research proposal, because if you know how to do research, then why do you need a PhD?
Right.
So we don't care whether it's right or wrong. We want to see effort, and we want to see dedication. We want to
Exactly.
see like that it is there in depth. Like the
Right.
student is engaged. They have been spending 3 months writing this. That's
Right.
what is very easy to see when I read a proposal. The first page, it's very easy to see whether it's written at the last moment, one day, or
Right.
someone is working for it for 2 months. It's very easy to see. So
Easy
I
to
would suggest
understand.
to put that work, because that's exactly what you'll do for 3 years, all day, every day. So if you
Right.
can't do it for 2 months before the proposal, then it's quite difficult to do it for 3 years.
Right. So, in one word, like student, they should have a preparation earlier mentally and put that effort and dedication to prepare the draft objective what they've been going to focus for the next 3 years.
Exactly.
And supervisors, they can see and understand as soon as they receive the draft, they can see whether kind of something is prepared by over the night or something, a student has been working last two,
Exactly.
3 months to prepare. So that's an excellent feedback. From your point of view or from your positions, are you currently accepting any PhD applicants?
Yes, right now I am. I have like two PhD students who are confirmed, one from Malaysia, one from Indonesia, and the other from Pakistan. So, and this is a similar process. We had the initial chat, they sent a proposal, I gave them feedback. They changed their proposal uh, according to the feedback. Then
Right.
when this was approved, like by me, then we moved on. So
Excellent.
uh,
Excellent. Work better. So, what are the things you'd like to students to consider before they send you the proposal? Like, if any students they are watching us today and then they want to approach you, what are the few factors you'd suggest them to consider before they approach you?
as I said, I mean, the motivation first, that yes, you are determined to do it, because it's like it's a lot of work and effort. And after 2 years, if you feel like you're not, it's like, then it's just it's a hassle for everyone.
Right.
So to assess yourself that no, this is what I want to do, and as I said, a very valid research question, like something that is interesting to you and me, and you have to judge that this person is working on this, so he might be interested in that. And you can't like know for sure, but that's why you can always email and chat. Uh, I am quite open to email chats, but maybe some supervisors, they'll only accept a full draft. So it depends, because there is like no golden rule, and
Right.
you have to approach and you have to try. So it's a trial and error. So that's the second thing. The third thing is you need to be aware of the funding. You need to be aware of aware of how you are gonna support. And fourth, we understand that PhD is a degree, but also it's your life. So you are interested to know whether you can stay in the UK. You are interested to know about immigration. You are interested to know, how it will work for your wife. Can your wife work in the UK? All these things are also important. I'm not saying that's less important than the PhD, because we need to achieve a work-life balance. So those are important factors. So
Yeah.
also, explore those at the same time that you are doing the proposal work, so that it's not like one or the other. So you need to be, I want a student to be aware of all these factors,
Right.
and not put in the effort to find out that they don't want because the visa process is problem or something, I don't know. But you need to be aware of all these factors at the same time.
Same time.
So
Right.
that preparation is quite important. That background research to do before approaching a supervisor, approaching a university, that's quite important.
Right. Excellent. Now, one of the common questions most of the students ask. We understand nowadays in lots of funding. It comes from the government or from different private firm, and a number of students they come up with funding as well. How about the university side? If a student, self-funded student looking for funding, how much supportive the department or the university or from your side as well?
So, okay, so the way it actually works is the university doesn't have a lot of funding, because, you know, there are different scholarships by different organizations, as you said. So there can be one charity giving one PhD scholarship. And those are quite competitive, because there are thousands of PhD students applying, and those are quite competitive. But it's like it's not it it would be great as a faculty. I would love if everyone got a scholarship when they get confirmed for PhD. But the
Right.
way it works in reality, that would mean we would have like hundreds of PhD students, and the university, it's very difficult to manage so many students also. So that's why there is like a way, that's why the university doesn't fund it that way. It might seem like, why they don't give a PhD scholarship, but it doesn't work for the university to give everyone a scholarship. So the
Right.
scholarship opportunities are limited. Now, if anyone is looking for ask PhD that they can't fund, or there is no government scholarship in their country, then I would suggest that you look for PhDs that are part of research projects. Now, what I mean by that, oftentimes, for example, I will get a grant, maybe of £250,000 in a research project. I will submit in the application that I want to hire three PhD students as part of my project. Then I will advertise that I have two funded, three funded PhD opportunities. And
Right.
then the student, they need to be interested in the project. They can't just do, because it's funded, they can't be just interested in anything. So they have to see if it matches with their. So for example, right now I know that the School of Architecture in Sheffield Hallam, it has two funded research PhD positions, and it's two funded position, and the project is set. It's almost like they set the agenda of what you want to study. If it matches with someone, I would say go for it, because it's great, because it's funded. And if it matches with your interest, you don't have to worry about funding. You get the PhD, you get the funding simultaneously. But
Right.
that's not the case when you are the one applying in a non advertised position.
Right.
So you
And
need to be aware of these different ways of doing
how
things.
funding works basically. It's not
Exactly.
in
And,
common like we
it's
have funding.
complicated, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not ideal, I'm saying. But
Right.
that's the world, I guess.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Shafiq, to explain all these opportunities and the ways a PhD applicant should look into the things before they start submitting applications or reaching out to the supervisors. And I believe from these sessions, we try to understand how a PhD works and then how a student should understand and prepare themselves before they start their PhD journey. At the same time, we would like to share information like it is a knowledge sharing platform for us. We have been trying to see the difficulties that are struggling for the student's perspective, and we're trying to help them out to understand and connect with the supervisor basically. So definitely following to this session, you need to contact with the supervisor. I believe this video you will find it beneficial. Please feel free to watch it properly, and then if you think yeah it helps you to understand to see how you can start your PhD career, and then probably you can email to Dr. Tanzil Shafique as well to reach out to see if he has that availability or if that matches with your research interest. Again, we are not here to committed you a PhD offer or anything like that, but this is just an information session, so you feel free to watch it and feel free to reach out to the supervisor directly. Thank you so much for your time today. And Dr. Tanzil Shafique, thank you so much for joining us and giving your feedback here. I believe, please feel free to, feel free to give us some more feedback before we finish today, just to see how the session went and what do you think? I mean, what are the areas our students can be benefited from here?
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope this is helpful for everyone. And as you said, I mean, they're free to contact me via email, which is available in the university website. So yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the audience who joined us and listening to us and who will be listening the videos later in future. And we look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same day again. Thank you so much. Have a good day.